speech worthy of Abraham Lincoln.
It was daring.
An extraordinary speech.
It was striking.
It's in many ways an act of honor.
It's the best speech ever given on race in this country.
A remarkable exploration of race from both sides of the color divide, from both sides of himself.
Well, those are pretty good reviews for Barack Obama's speech from some of our colleagues in the media. Back with our panel on this subject. Charles, we haven't heard you on this. You weren't in here yesterday. Your thoughts about the speech and the reaction to it?
The reaction is rubbish that we just saw. This speech was nothing more or less than an apologia, an explaining away of Jeremiah Wright's rants, done with elegance and nuance and complexity. Essentially, it said that if you look at his remarks, this is what Obama was saying. He explained it away in two ways: moral equivalence and white racism. The moral equivalence is, well, at the one hand you have Jeremiah Wright, at the other hand you have Geraldine Ferraro, cited
and his
twice, and grandma,
right,
who occasionally would utter a private epithet about a racist epithet, as if she had shouted these epithets in a crowded church or crowded theater as a way to arouse and envenom the audience, as Wright did. I mean, Obama's a guy who glories in his capacity for intellectual distinctions. There is a huge distinction between a woman of the generation of a Truman, who also uttered epithets about Jews and blacks in private, and the propagation of race hatred in a congregation on behalf of by a pastor. And the second element of that speech was extenuating and explaining it away as a reaction to white racism. He says, look, you have to put Wright in context. Context is history, and the history he gave is a history of racism, starting with slavery and ending at Jeremiah Wright and his anger and frustration. This kind of extenuation is what you used to hear from Jesse Jackson, except in Obama's case, dressed up in Ivy League language and Harvard Law School nuance. And that's why the commentary that we saw on this was so rhapsodic. It touched two erogenous zones: white guilt and intellectual flattery. And that's all it was. I think it was a brilliantly conceived failure.
Maura?
That's a tough act to follow, man. That's all I can say. I did not.